Hello everyone, RS Jafarzadeh here, and we're going to continue on our little RPG style game. And what we want to do is have our hero have the ability to fight a opponent. And to do that, we're going to need to bring in some other sprites. Again, I'm just going to use some from our old Zelda game just for fun. So I'm going to go ahead and go to File, Import to a Library. And in here, we're going to grab moblin back, front, and the left ones. So I'm just going to import those sprites in. Do a little organizing here. I'm going to take these moblin sprites and put them into a folder. So I'll create a new folder, call it moblin sprites. And we're just going to click the first one, hold shift, click the last one, and drag them all into here so that we're nice and organized. The next step is to create animations for each of these directions. We don't have to worry about left once again, just like Copy, because we're going to flip it over. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to Insert, New Symbol, and call this Moblin Walk Back. Type is going to be MovieClip. I don't need this advanced stuff for this particular lesson. We'll click OK. I'll drag over Moblin back, drop it here, and I'm going to go over to frame number 6, insert a blank keyframe there, and drag over Moblin back 2, and make sure that I have onion skinning on, and line it up. I'm just going to go through this pretty quick, since we've kind of gone through this with Copy. Frame 10, I'm going to right click and insert a frame, so that from frame 1 to 5 we have his left leg forward, and frame, or I should say the other way around, it looks like here, and his other leg is forward from frame 6 through 10, giving him an equal time on both legs. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to scene 1. And we're going to insert another new symbol, call this Moblin Walk Front, drag over Moblin Front 1, and drop it there, create a new keyframe, blank keyframe at frame 6, drag over Moblin Front 2, turn on onion skinning, and we're just going to go ahead and line it up once again. And insert a frame at frame 10. Oh. So again, he has equal time here. I'm going to turn on onion skinning again here. It looks like he's off center a little. So let's nudge him over and make sure that he's all set there. Looks pretty good. And looks like he's walking around. That'll be fine for this. We're going to go back, insert another new symbol. I'm going to call this Moblin Walk Left. That's the last one. Drag over Moblin Left 1. Drop it here. There we go. And then go to frame number 6. Insert a blank keyframe. And drag over Moblin Left 2. Line it up. And it looks like we're good to go. Frame 10 will have a regular frame once again. We're just going to head over to scene 1. We have all of our movie clips. I'll create a new folder for those as well and call that Moblin MovieClips. And I accidentally created the folder inside the Moblin sprites, which is okay, but I'm going to pull it out of there because I don't want it to be in that folder. So now the Moblin MovieClips folder is separate. I'm going to drag these movie clips we created into there, and keeping ourselves nice and organized. Alright, so I have our 3 Moblin movie clips. We're going to create one more called Moblin All Sprites. So insert a new symbol, Moblin All Sprites, and this is going to house all the different directions that Moblin walks. So we have our Moblin All Sprites movie clip. I'm going to drag over Moblin Walk Back first, drop it so that the bottom of the movie clip is lined up with the crosshair or the registration point. On frame number 2, I'm going to insert a blank keyframe and drag over Moblin Walk Front. I already have onion skinning on, so I can kind of match it up. On frame number 3, I'm going to drag over Moblin Walk Left, so I'm going to insert a blank keyframe again, drag over Moblin Walk Left. And last but not least, we're going to create a keyframe on frame 4 and duplicate frame 3 on frame 4 and just go to Modify Transform and flip horizontal. That way we have the right side for Moblin. Onion skinning can be turned off. I'm going to go to frame 1 and start to label them just like we did for Cope and Link. So I'm going to call this one walk back frame. And you can see it there. Go to frame number 2, walk left frame. Go to frame number 3. Excuse me, I got distracted there. I meant walk front frame there. Front frame. So that's the one where he's facing the front. Walk front frame. Walk left frame for the one where he's actually facing the left. Notice that I'm capitalizing each of the first letters. Remember, it stores it as a string. And walk right frame. So this should look pretty familiar. No changes here. Be careful not to add any extra spaces or characters. So we're going to go back to scene 1, and I'm going to go inside of my background movie clip. So the best way in this case would be to, I'm going to lock that, go unlock the background layer, zoom out a little bit, Control- on your keyboard, and just double click on that background movie clip. And what that does is it takes us inside of the movie clip that we called overworld from before. And what I can do is drag over the Moblin all sprites, which I should probably put in the Moblin movie clips folder. So I'm just going to drag over Moblin all sprites, and I'll drop them somewhere on the right over here. And I'm going to give him an instance name of Moblin MC. All the characters are lowercase except for the M for the MC. Press enter there, and now I can refer to him by telling the computer to go inside of overworld MC, which we named earlier, and find Moblin MC because we want him to be part of the background. So we go back to scene 1, and now we can code it so that Moblin can walk around randomly. It's going to be very similar to what we typed for Cope. So I'll right click on my right click on the frame here and open up my actions. And we want to stay as organized as possible, as I mentioned before. So, I have all of these comments in my code to help me stay organized. And the section that I want you to find is to scroll all the way down, all the way towards the end. We have 3 closed curly brackets. This one closes this else statement here that resets our timer and all that stuff. Over here, this closed curly bracket ends where am I? Not the function. The main if statement here for if Cope is touching a link. So that ends that, and we're going to press enter right after that closed curly bracket. In fact, I'm going to press enter a couple of times, and so if you did it correctly, you'll have 2 curly brackets that are closing above you, and then 1 closed curly bracket below you, which ends the function down there. And what we're going to do here is create some code for Moblin's brain. And the cool thing here is we can use a lot of the code that we used earlier for Cope. Not all of it, but most of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the top where we typed all of the code for Cope to walk around. Now notice that we have the if statement that detects if Cope is being touched by a link. Below that we have an else, and we have an open curly bracket, and then right below the myText.txt we have if Cope timer is less than Cope duration. And that's the first line that we want. I'm going to highlight that line, drag my mouse down, past all of the cases, past Cope timer plus plus, past the else. We have Cope dir equals math.random. We have Cope facing equals math.floor math.random. And we have Cope timer equals 0. And then we have 1 closed curly bracket. That's as far as we're going to go. I'm going to let go of my mouse there and press Control C or right click and click copy so that it copies that section of the code for us. Then I'm going to scroll down and go to the section where we typed in Moblin's brain. And in there, I'm going to go ahead and paste all of that code with some minor tweaks. Instead of Cope, I'm going to use Moblin here. So I'm going to replace all of these Cope facings with Moblin facing. Cope duration is going to be called Moblin duration. So we're going to reset all of those so that they're called They're referring to moblin. We also have to initialize several variables that we created for copy above for moblin. So we're going to return here in just a second. Let's go up to the top just for a moment and set ourselves up. We have at the very beginning all this stuff for the where we initialize the variables for copy. I'm going to press enter right after all that and create variables for moblin. So I'm just going to type in var moblin timer :number equals 0. We have var moblin duration :number equals math.random open close parentheses, and we can have them walk for a longer period of time. Let's say I just say 35 there. Var copy facing moblin facing, moblin facing :number equals math.floor math.random open close parentheses, and again we're going to multiply that by 4 since that is the number of directions that he can face. And we just need one for his speed, so var moblin speed :number equals, and then let's make moblin a little bit slower than copy, so we'll just put 2 there and put a semicolon. So those are all the variables that we need for moblin. Now we can head down to the very bottom of our code where we had just pasted the stuff for moblin's brain, and all of the copies are just going to be replaced with moblin instead of copy. So we have moblin timer here. It's copy timer from before is now moblin timer. Copy dir will now be moblin dir. Copy facing will be now moblin facing. So I'm just going to go through, and you're going to replace all of those copies with moblins. Now, an easy way to do this is I can go up here to where it says find. I can click there, and in this little search box, I can type in copy, find copy, and replace it with moblin. And make sure match case is selected. I'm going to say find next. I see here it found overworldmc.copyMC, and it only highlighted copy. So if I click replace, it'll replace that with moblin. I'm going to go through and replace all the copies with moblins, but I have to be careful not to go too far because I don't want to replace the copies from above that actually move copy. We don't want to move those. So I'm going to replace that, replace all of these copies with moblins. Almost there. And the last one. See, now here I don't want to replace these. We're back at the beginning of the code. It started all over. These copy timer and all that stuff, these variables have to stay the same, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that. At this point, I'm going to do a save, and we're going to run the code, and we should see moblin walking around randomly right where we left him when we started the game. So let's go take a look. And if well, it looks like I have a small error. Let's see what it is. So earlier it looks like I made a mistake here. I added a dot here, which we do not need a dot there. It's just math.floor, open parentheses, math.random. So I had an extra dot there that didn't belong. So if we try it again, we shouldn't have any more errors there. There we go. Okay, so we have copy walking around randomly. If I go down to the right, I can see moblin walking around randomly as well. Now we want to have it so link and moblin can interact with each other. We want to make it so that link can attack moblin and that moblin can attack link. So let's start off by having moblin have the ability to attack link. We're going to create a health system for young link. Here's what we need to do. The first thing we need is a health bar for young link. So I'm going to zoom in a bit, and right here at the top, I'm going to create a green bar that is for link's health. And here's how it's going to work. I'm going to head over to my tools and select the rectangle tool, and we're going to choose a color, and I would recommend green. It seems to make sense for a health bar. You're going to want the stroke to be transparent, and I'm going to create a new layer right above the text box or text field layer and call it health bar. And I'm going to create a thin green bar at the top for Link for his health. You can add some more text here and just make a static text box that says health or whatever, but that's the basic premise there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this green rectangle that we created, right click it, and convert it to a symbol and call the symbol health bar. And it's going to be a movie clip because we need to make the health bar interactive. It's going to change as Link gets hurt. I'm going to click OK there. Now we have a health bar with the registration point set at the top left. I'm going to call it Link Health Bar. We have Link Health Bar, H and B are capitalized. It looks good to go there. The other thing that we're going to do is have it so that when Link touches Moblin, the health bar goes down. So I'm going to go pull up my actions once again. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and create a hit test just above the closed curly bracket right over here. Now, I don't know if I covered it early in the video, but make sure you click the auto format button because some of these indentations may change a little. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and press enter a few times, and we have a closed curly bracket above and one below just before the function ends. Put a double slash there, and I'm going to call this hit test stuff for Moblin and Link. And in here, I'm going to create a hit test. If, let's see here, if linkMc.getTestObject, open parentheses, overworldMc.moblinMC, close parentheses, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. And in here, we're going to ask the computer to check if Link is touching Moblin. And if he is, to have his health bar go down. So here's how that would work. I would type in Link health bar MC dot, and I think I forgot the MC earlier, didn't I? I bet you I did. Link health bar MC dot scale x minus equals, and we can type in a number here. I can type in 10 or whatever I want, but I would recommend having it so that it has a variable that you initialize above, because you're going to have different enemies, and maybe each enemy has a certain attack power. So that would be a better idea to create a variable here rather than typing in 10. But for now, let's just type in 10. I have to go back and also update our movie clip here and make sure it says health bar MC, so that way it is the same instance name as we typed in our actions. So if I run it now, hopefully we don't have errors again. Okay, it looks good. We're going to head over and find Moblin and see what happens to our health bar at the top. You can see that suddenly the health bar went all the way to the left. Why is that happening? Well, here's how scale x works. Scale x works with percentages. And right now, scale x, when I said 10, I didn't really say 10%, I said 1000%, because it subtracted point, so it basically, it's treated it as a percentage. So what I want to say is point, and actually not 1000%, I meant 100% there, right? No, 1000%. So here, what we're going to type in is 0.1. That's going to be the equivalent of 10%. Let's see what happens. It's going to head over to the right. Here's Moblin. I touch him, and my health bar starts going down into the left. Now we have a big problem because the health bar went into the negatives, and I don't want it to do that. I want it to stop. So what I'm going to do is right here where it says if link.hitTestObject overruled MC moblin MC. I'm going to click in that if statement there, right in here. We're going to make a space and add a second condition, and that is that link health bar MC dot scale x is greater than 0. And as long as it's greater than 0, it's going to subtract from the health bar. So now if I walk over to moblin and I touch them, it'll stop. And I should have said greater than or equal to, let's see here, greater than or equal to, no, just greater than 1. Let's try that again. Oh, right, of course, it's a percentage, so we're going to say 0.01. Because I think it went too far. We ended up getting into negative 10%. If that's what I noticed. Let's double check. There it goes. Perfect. So now he loses health, but he can still walk around. We have to fix that. And the other problem is that link is very sensitive. As soon as he touches any corner of moblin, it starts detecting a hit test. So we can fix that by creating a hitbox for link. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over to my link layer, or link movie clip, the link all movie clip. And we're inside the link all sprites movie clip. I'm going to create a new layer above and create a small rectangular box. Give it any color, it doesn't matter because we're going to make it transparent anyways. Create a small rectangular box. And this is going to be the hit area for link. If I don't do this, the problem that I'm going to have is that it's going to be too sensitive. If I click on link, any part of this box that gets touched, including this transparent area, is going to detect a hit for link, and we don't want that. So I'm going to select this box, convert it to a symbol, and just call it link hitbox. And I'm going to give it the instance name of just hitbox MC, HITBOX MC, B and M are capitalized. And I'm going to go over here to, under properties, to color effect and set the alpha to 0, so that hitbox is completely transparent. And head back up to my code, and instead of saying linkMc.hitTestObject, we're going to say linkMc.hitbox.MC.hitTestObject. Now again, I can't remember if I added that MC. Let me double check there. Let's go back inside link all sprites and double check to make sure I named it correctly. Hitbox MC is what I called it. And in the code, we want to make sure we name it the same thing, Hitbox MC. Looks good. So it won't be as sensitive anymore when link touches moblin. Let's test it out. Yep, looks good. Now it gets hit. Perfect. We're going to make link go away after he gets hit. But for now, as long as we have the health bar, we're good. We'll come revisit that in a minute. But what I do want is to have it so that link can hurt moblin. And for that, we're going to need some new sprites. I'm going to head over to my import option again and import to my library. But we're going to go back and import in the link sword sprites. And what I'm going to need is just a image of him facing the back with his hand out, an image of his sword, an image of him with the front, and an image of him with the left. That's all we need, nothing extra. I'm going to click open on those 4 sprites, and in my library they're all there now. And we're going to drag those to link sprites. We're going to create some new movie clips. In fact, we don't really need a new movie clip for this except for the sword, because the sword's the only thing that is going to be interactive. So head over to link all sprites And inside linkAllSprites, we're going to create some new keyframes at the bottom. The first blank keyframe is going to have link back sword, which is right here. I'm going to drag that over. I don't really need onion skinning, but that should be good right there, line up with the bottom. I'm also going to drag over link front sword only. And we're going to use the same movie clip for all the directions. So I'm just going to take this and rotate it. I'm holding shift so it snaps. And I'm going to set it up so that he has a sword facing the back. Next, I'm going to right click on this sword that I just brought in, and I'm going to convert that to a symbol because that sword needs to be interactive. Link didn't need to be a movie clip because he's not going to be interactive. It's just going to show Link, and we already have the hit test box for it to detect if Link is getting hit, so we don't have to worry about any of that. But the sword does need to be interactive. So we're going to create a movie clip for our sword. I'm just going to call it sword. Type is going to be movie clip. Registration point's not too important in this case. So we have our sword movie clip. Next, I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. Drag over sword front, which is right here, link sword front. Line them up once again. Drag over the movie clip we called sword, and it's in our library now. I'm going to rotate this guy again. Now this is the movie clip of our sword, and I'm putting it right over there on his hand. And last but not least, one more blank keyframe. Drag over link left sword. And we're going to drag over the sword movie clip. Rotate it again. Oh, that's funny. There we go. And put that in his hand there. Alright, so there is his sword. Did I get that right there? His little extra pixel of green there, but that should be good enough. So, there we have it. We have Link's sword in his hand. Everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and insert a keyframe for the right side. So let's insert a keyframe. And we're going to flip everything over. It's going to kind of mess things up, but you'll see what I'm going to do here. Drag that over here, and we're set. Next, we're going to create a movie clip instance name for each of these movie clips. So I'm going to click on the sword here, and we're just going to call it sword back MC. That's capital B, capital M. Sword is all lowercase letters. We're going to go to the frame with the sword in the front. This isn't necessarily the best way, but it's just the way we're doing it in this lesson. Sword front MC. So we have sword back MC here. Sword front MC here. Next, I'm going to go over to the third frame with the sword out. Highlight just the sword itself. Call this sword left MC. And on the third frame, we have sword right MC. We also need to label the frames. So let's call this sword front back frame. Same format as before. Capitalize each letter, each word. Sword front MC. You can call as frame. And I was just thinking I could have also called it like attack front or something like that, but sword makes most sense. Sword left frame and sword right frame. So I'm calling these frames because these are the frames it's going to go to, but it's going to detect the hit test on the actual movie clip, the sword movie clip. Sword right frame. And on the last frame here, I'm going to insert a regular frame. And there's a regular frame on frame 12, I believe. And there we have it. So we're good to go here. I think we don't need to do anything else here. Just to review, I named these sword right, MC, etc. And we named the frames sword left frame, sword right frame, etc. Let's head back to scene 1. On scene 1, I have Link, and now I want to make it so that he can attack. Now for this to work, we're going to need some new variables for Mr. Link. We're going to need to give his sword some power, and we're going to also need to pay close attention to which direction Link is facing. We're going to need to create a variable that changes depending on which direction Link is facing, so that when we press the space bar, it shows the correct frame. See, with left, right, up, and down, they're different keys that have Link face different directions. But the space bar can have 4 different results. I can press space and maybe he's going to be hitting the back or the front or the left or the right. So we need to teach the computer to know which direction Link is facing and take the appropriate action. So going back to our actions, we're going to go and initialize a few extra variables we're going to need later. First one that we're going to need later is we're going to have something for Link's sword and how much power it's going to have when it hits moblin. So we might as well do that now. Var Link sword power :number, and we're going to give that the value of maybe, I don't know, 10 or something. We're also going to need to create a new variable called Link facing, or the direction that Link faces. So I'm just going to call that var Link facing, and we're going to make this a string just so it's easy for us. So var Link facing :string equals, and at the beginning of the game we'll have him face the front, so we'll just call it front. It's in quotation marks because it's a string. The other thing that we might as well do while we're here is to create a power level for moblin so that it hurts Link's, it takes a certain percentage of Link's health bar. So let's call it var moblin power :number equals 0.1. And that way below we're going to change that in a minute. So I created these 3 variables. And first thing we'll do is we'll head all the way down, and might as well change that before I forget it. So right here at the very end, the hit test stuff for moblin and Link, I'm going to change that 0.1 to say moblin power. That way, when Link hits, when moblin and Link touch, it takes away 10% of Link's health bar. Let's take a look, make sure it still works, and we're good. Next, we need to create a way so that when Link faces a certain direction, that variable we created above called Link facing updates depending on what direction Link is facing. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and head over into the down handler section. And right here we said if the key code is right pressed equals true. We're going to add another line there and say Link facing equals, in quotation marks, right. For the left key, we're going to add a line and say Link facing equals left. For the next section, I'm going to type in Link facing equals, this is for down, so I'm going to say front. And for the last one, when the person presses the up key, Link facing equals back. Semicolon there. So now we have that. We also need to create an else if for if the space key is pressed, because that's what we're going to use for him to use his sword. So we're going to create another else if key event dot key code equal keyboard dot space, open curly bracket, close curly bracket, space pressed equals true. Now I totally forgot to create a variable for space press. So we're going to have to go back up to the top and do that. So space press becomes true if the person presses the space key. Let's go up to the top and take care of that right now. I'm going to keep it in line with these other pressed variables. So I'm going to go right where we said var down press colon boolean equals new boolean false and create another one, var space pressed colon boolean equals new boolean and false there as well. So I forgot that from earlier. Make sure you do that there. Go all the way down to the key up handler, and we're going to create a similar task. Here we wrote else if. After else if, I'm going to write down the same exact code, else if key event dot key code equal keyboard dot space close parentheses open curly bracket close curly bracket. We're going to say space pressed equals false. And it's false this time because you let go of the key. So let's double check to make sure I did it correctly. Looks good. Looks good. Everything looks fine. So it's space press becomes true when you press the space key, and it becomes false when you let go. Next, we're going to go to the game loop section. Inside the game loop, we have a whole section about if down pressed, up pressed, etc. We're going to go to the section that says else if up pressed, and at the end of the curly bracket for that else if up pressed condition, we're going to create one more else if and call that else if space pressed, and that means if space pressed is true. In here, we're going to type in some new code. We're going to tell the computer to figure out which direction Link is facing, and based on that direction, show the correct movie clip. The correct frame. So here, I'm going to make a switch just so it's easier and more organized for us in this code. We'll have 4 cases if it's left, right, up, or down, or front or back. So I'm going to type in switch within the else if space press. So if space press is true, perform this switch statement. And we're going to say switch link facing. So it's evaluating link facing. Open curly bracket, close curly bracket, and scroll down so you can see what's below there. So I have else if space pressed, open curly bracket, switch link facing, open curly bracket, close curly bracket, close curly bracket. And here we're going to create our 4 cases. The first case is case, let's say, left. That's in quotation marks because the case is a string. In this case, that it's evaluating link facing is a string. Put a colon there. And what I wanted to do is if link indeed is facing left, I wanted to show the frame with link and its sword out. So I would type in linkMc.gotoAndStop, open parentheses quotation mark, and we're going to say sword left frame. And the quotation mark, close parentheses, semicolon. The other thing I needed to do is perform a hit test if the space is pressed and link is facing the left. I wanted to see if the left sword is touching moblin. Now I have to type that code here because I needed to check to see if that movie clip, the sword movie clip, is touching moblin while it's on that frame. Otherwise we're going to get an error. So I'm going to go within this case still and make an if statement inside of it. If linkMc.sword left mc dot hit test object open parentheses overworld mc dot moblin mc close parentheses open curly bracket close curly bracket. It's going to do some series of actions for me. Now the action I wanted to take is to have moblin be hurt. But for now, let's just do a trace. Ouch. So let's take a look and see what that does. Hopefully we don't have any errors. Okay, looking good. No errors. He's going to walk over to moblin. Now right now, if I press space, facing the right, nothing will happen. But if I press space facing the left, you can see that it shows Link with his sword out. It stays out. We're going to fix that in a minute. But I want to see if it's actually hurting Moblin. So I'm going to head over to Moblin on the left side. And you can see he says ouch when I hit him with the sword. So now that we have that, we need to continue on and resolve some glitches. So we're going to get to the problem that we have with the sword staying out in just a minute. But I do want to complete this section of the code so that it shows the animation for Link with his sword out and also hurt Moblin. So to do that, we're going to create a whole new series of variables for Moblin's health. So let's go up to the top. We already actually created one of them earlier, and I think I may have missed one. So we set Link sword power. That's great. We are going to need that. But we're going to also need to create a health meter for Moblin. Now, we don't need a meter, really, but a variable that affects Moblin's health as he loses his health. So I'm going to go in here and type in var Moblin health colon number equals, and we'll give him a health of 100. And we're going to set it up so that when Moblin's health hits 0, something happens. He disappears or whatever it is. And Moblin's health gets subtracted by, or loses Link's sword power each time the sword touches Moblin. So we're going to go back down to our code that we typed earlier, towards the bottom inside the loop, where we said else if space pressed is true, switch Link facing, case left. And in here, I'm going to type in overworld mc dot moblin mc dot x plus equals, and again I could create a variable here, but this one's pretty simple. I'm just going to say 10. And what this does is when Moblin gets hit by Link's sword, it's going to move him to, and this should be actually minus equals, right? No. Yeah, minus equals. When the left side of Link's sword touches, or when Link is facing the left and he hits Moblin with his sword, it's going to cause Moblin to move to the left by 10 pixels. And you can see how that works when I run the code. I'm going to head over to the right here, and we're going to attack Moblin, and you can see that whenever it touches Moblin, it moves them to the right. Cool. The other problem that we have is that I need it to subtract from Moblin's health. So we're going to head over here to overworldmc.moblinmc.x. I'm going to press enter and type in Moblin health minus equals Link sword power. Now it's going to keep subtracting from his power, and you can see how that works here. Trace Moblin health. We're just going to do a little test. You don't have to do this, but just so you see what happens to Moblin's health is each time that Link hits Moblin with his sword, we get a trace, and you can see it's 70 on the left here. Hit him again. See, now we're getting into the negatives. So we want to make it so that when it hits 0, something happens to Moblin. But we'll do that in a minute. So I'm going to get rid of that trace. We don't need that. And we're going to continue on our cases here. So this case is done. So I'm going to go right after the close curly bracket for that if we created and type in break semicolon and then create another case. Case right colon linkMc.gotoAndStop sword right frame. Pay attention to how I'm typing everything, of course. Put a semicolon there, and also create the if statement, if link mc.sword, and this time it's going to be right mc.hitTestObject overworld mc.moblinMC double close parentheses, open curly bracket, close curly bracket, overworld mc.moblinmc.x plus equals 10, and Moblin health again minus equals link sword power. Semicolon there. And then after that if, the little curly bracket here, I press enter and type in break. That's what you should have so far. I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you can see the else if starts here. We have two cases within this switch. There are two cases here. And we have the close curly bracket for the switch statement and a close curly bracket for the if, else if space press statement. We'll go after that break. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and copy the code we just typed, case left and case right. Copy that code and paste it just below. And what I'm going to do with this pasted information, because we have a duplicate of it now, is instead of left, I'm going to type in up, or back, I should say, all lowercase letters. Instead of sword left frame, I'm going to say sword back frame. Instead of sword left MC, I'm going to say sword back MC. Instead of overworld MC.moblin MC.x minus equals 10, we're going to say .y minus equals 10. Moblin health minus equals sword power doesn't change. The next one, I'm going to say front instead of right. And go to and stop sword front frame. linkMc.sword instead of right MC, we're going to say sword front MC. Instead of overworld MC.x plus equals 10, it's going to be .y plus equals 10. So now, if we run the code again, you can see that each of the directions work. Well, kind of. The sword still stays out, but when he goes here, you can see that works. When he presses down here, it does affect moblin. Excellent. So the next thing is we want to have it so that when you let go of the space bar, the sword goes back inside Link's hand. So for that, we're going to create a separate, well, we're going to create an else that's going to have Link go to the standing frame when you let go of any of the keys now. How that's going to work is we're going to go up to the top and make a little change. At the top, where we had the key up handler, we said linkMc.gotoAndStop stand right frame, and the same thing for each of the different keys. We're not going to need this anymore. We're going to do a different approach. So I'm actually going to go and delete that line that says linkMc.gotoAndStop stand right frame. I'm going to erase that whole line within the key event for each of the key presses. So we're going to do that for the else ifs as well. Get rid of it for left, get rid of it for down, and get rid of it for back. So a simple up handler now, and it just makes the booleans false. We're going to go back to our loop, our game loop function, and in the section where I said else if space pressed, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of that statement. So this second closed curly bracket here is the closed curly bracket for the else if space pressed is true. We're going to press enter, and I'm just going to type else. Press enter, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. So in the case that any of those conditions are not met, in other words, if space press is not true, or left press is not true, or right press is not true, we're going to have it so that if none of the keys are being pressed, it shows Link facing the correct direction. Again, I'm going to create a switch statement so that it's nice and efficient. So we're going to type in switch, Link facing, close parentheses, oops, I have a spelling mistake there, switch, Link facing, oops, pressed the wrong key there, my mouse jumped. So switch, Link facing, it's evaluating Link facing once again, but this time it's only going to evaluate Link facing when you're not pressing a key, and in this case, if Link facing is left, right, up, or down, I want it to show that correct direction where he's standing in that direction this time, because this would only happen, this else will only occur if the user is not pressing any keys. So here we're going to do a case for left, put a colon there, And we're going to say linkMc.gotoAndStop, open parentheses, quotation mark, stand left frame, quotation mark, close parentheses, semicolon, put a break, semicolon there, case right, linkMc.gotoAndStop, stand right frame, break there, case front, linkMc.gotoAndStop, stand front frame, break there, and last but not least, case back, linkMc.gotoAndStop, stand back frame, and break there. I forgot the semicolon up here. Let's take care of that. So now, at the very least, when I run my code, when I press the space bar, his sword will be out, and when I let go, his sword will go back in. And I can go over here to moblin and attack moblin. That seems to work in all directions. Next, we're going to have it so that if moblin's health drops below a certain level, we can have it remove him. But in our case, let's just tell it to move him somewhere else and then reset its health. So we go fight another moblin. So what I'm going to do is scroll down to the section where we have the hit test for moblin and link. And in here, I'm going to create an else. Better yet, let's not do that. Let's go to the section where we typed in moblin's brain. And let's create a separate if statement that checks to see how moblin's health is doing. We're going to create a little health monitor for moblin. And to do that, I'm going to press enter a few times here. And in the moblin's brain section, just so I'm organized, I'm going to create an if statement. Now we're in the game loop, so don't forget we're in the game loop function. And here I'm going to type in if moblin health is less than 0. That means moblin's dead now. Open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Let's just have it so that it just moves moblin somewhere else. So I'm just going to type overworld mc.moblin mc.y equals math.random, close parentheses, and let's just say times 1000. So it's going to move them somewhere between 0 and 1000. Do the same thing for the x-axis, overworld mc.moblin mc.x equals math.random, open close parentheses, times 1000 once again. And last but not least, we're going to have it reset moblin's health to 100. Otherwise, it'll just keep moving him around randomly. So we have to reset his health. Moblin health equals 100. And he will be back to his cheery old self, walking around somewhere else on the stage. So we have that. That's for moblin's health. Let's go take a look and see what happens. I'm walking over to moblin. Attack him. When his health becomes 0, he disappeared. That's simple enough for now. We can do some cooler things with it later. I also want to make it so that a link dies if he gets hit too many times. So to do that, let's create a little death scene for link. I'm going to go ahead and insert a new symbol. Call it link death. Sounds scary. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have him kind of in the original game spin around himself and then disappear. So I'm just going to take a picture of link front, put it there. Maybe it'll be here just for a couple of frames, so I'll go forward a couple of frames, insert a blank keyframe, drag over link left. There we go. Go forward a couple of frames, insert a blank keyframe, drag over back. Again, go forward a couple of frames, insert a blank keyframe. And we're going to drag over left once again, but I'm going to flip it over to the other side. Modify transform, flip horizontal, and I'm going to insert a regular frame there. So if I run it, or if I play it, I should say, he spins around himself just like that. And I'm going to duplicate this so he spins around himself a couple of times. So there's once. I'm going to hold Control, drag my, excuse me, not Control, I meant Alt. Drag that over, and what that did is when I highlighted that and I held Alt, it duplicated those movie clips. I'm going to do it one more time. Highlight that section, hold Alt and drag it over. And maybe on the last frame, on the last frame, I want it to last a little bit longer than normal, so I'm just going to insert a regular frame there. So now when I play it, that'll happen. Oh, and actually, I'm going to undo that. What I really wanted is another blank keyframe there and have them face the front. That would look cooler. And then go forward about 5 or 10 frames, whatever your preference. So there you have it. He's going to spin around and then just stand there. Kind of cool. And you can see what happens here if I run it right now. Well, let's go to the link all sprites really quick and drag over that link death movie clip. Excuse me, I'm starting to get a little hungry here. On frame number, the last frame, whichever that is, I think that's frame 13, insert a blank keyframe and drag over link death. And on that frame, it's just going to show a picture of Link just standing there. I can go ahead and put the hitbox there, even though we're not going to use it very much. Sort of frame there. Okay, and we're going to label that just death frame. And if we go back to our code and open up our actions, we're going to go to the section where we said the hit test for moblin and link. And what I'm going to do is type in, let's see here. Well, we could do it here. A couple of different ways we could do it. So I think what we should do is create another if statement for when link's health drops below 0. So let's go ahead and just go to the end of our game loop again. So I just made some space at the very end of the code just before the function closes. And I'm going to type in if link health is less than 0, less than or equal to, I guess 0 would work. Oh, excuse me. I did a different approach earlier. We're going to do if the health bar. So if, and I think we called it health bar MC, or was it link health bar MC? I'm pretty sure it was a link health bar MC, or no, linkMc.healthbar MC. Let's see here, dot scale x is less than, and I think we said 0.01. We'll might as well use the same thing. Open curly bracket, close curly bracket, and here I'm just going to say linkMc.gotoAndStop death frame. And let's take a look and see what that does. It's not going to actually work if I run this now that I think about it, because it's going to still do all the other stuff. And maybe I can see if I can show you here. Yeah, it's not going to work. Let's see if I can close this here. Hello. Yeah, I've just crashed this thing. Oh, I don't want to do that.